The comments made and opinions given by show hosts and guests are not necessarily those of the All One broadcast or its sponsors.
In a world where spirits roam and questions rise, the search for answers. Welcome to Medium at Large with your host, Medium Julie MacDonald.
Welcome everyone to Medium at Large. I am Medium Julie MacDonald, your host for tonight, and we are airing only on A1B. I want to welcome you all. Thank you for being here with us. If you'd like to join us in the chat room, if you go to allonebroadcast.com where it says live chat room, you can just click on that, come on in and join us. You guys are my guests tonight. I'm here all by myself. I'm feeling lonely, so I hope you will come in and join me. Later on in the evening, we're also going to take some calls. I'm going to give you that number now if you want to write it down, but I will give it to you later on as well. The number to call later on if you have a question that you'd like to ask. This would be a psychic or a medium question. You can dial 267-519-1707. That's 267-519-1707. And so we'll be doing that later in the show. So again, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. And as I was sitting trying to think about what am I possibly going to do, I mean, I can certainly entertain myself for an hour by myself and have quite a good time. But entertaining all of you is another thing. And Mark is saying that he can't call. He has to use the chat room. That's fine. If the people in chat, when we do the readings later or messages later, if you want to just private message me, and, you know, I'm not real good with this technical savvy stuff about flipping back and forth. So just be patient with me if I'm looking at Skype and then looking at the chat room. This is all new to me, but I would be happy to answer any questions that you have if you want to, you know, do that in chat as well. So if we have a long medium queue? That's a really good question. I don't really know. Kat, we'll play it by ear. We're going to do the best we can to get to everyone. And of course, this won't be the only night that I open up for calls. So there'll be plenty other nights when I do that. So today I was thinking about what to do, and I didn't know. And only moments ago, it was in part as I was listening to Craig and Ginger on Craig's show on Insights Radio, and I was thinking about all of the many things that we do as psychics and mediums, investigators, and all of that, and how differently we walk through the world than we did before we started doing this work. And I started thinking back to when I first started really getting back in touch with spirit. And some of you may know that it really actually started very early on in my life, but I closed it out. It was partly closed out of me, and then I closed it out myself because alcohol became the spirit that I loved the most, and it did a wonderful job for a very long time. I was able to see many really interesting things with that. But after a while, it wasn't so much fun anymore. So when I ceased using alcohol as my constant companion, that's when suddenly other things started opening up for me again. And I can remember being very, very scared because I thought I was going crazy. And I think Ginger had mentioned that in the show earlier about being crazy. Mark says, alcohol is cool. Yes, it is, Mark, but it wasn't so cool for me anymore. And I thought, I went through all this and stopped drinking to stop being crazy. And now all of a sudden I'm seeing things, I'm feeling things, I'm hearing things. There were so many things happening, and I was really, really frightened. And I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know who to talk to. You couldn't exactly go to, people were talking about therapists earlier. You couldn't exactly go to a therapist and say, hey, by the way, when I'm walking through my house, I'm seeing people standing there and they start talking to me. Or, you know, there's someone that keeps coming and moving things around in my house. So it was a really frightening time for me. And for a little while, I felt very, very alone in that. Um, and, honestly, as a psychic medium, and I don't know any of you that are out there, there's still times, even with spirit all around, there's still a lot of times when it can at times feel like a very lonely path. Because even walking through the world, and I walk through the world with it on my sleeve. I don't necessarily announce it to everyone I meet, but I don't hide it. I don't hide it from anyone or anywhere. But still, there's times when that connection can be so overwhelming. When you go out into a grocery store, for instance, and you're walking down the aisle and you see all of these human beings that you see, and then you see these other beings, and you see other things going around other people, and you see their auras, and you see someone that's sick, or you see someone and you know that they're going to die soon, and you wonder if they know, and there's all of this stuff coming at you full force. Yes, Mark, it's crowded but lonely at the same time, because I will admit that at times I do tend to talk out loud to spirit. Well, most often, not at times. So sometimes even in the store, I might walk by and say, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Luckily, if there's other people around, they don't really think I'm crazy, because there's other people walking by. They might think I'm talking to them. But as someone who is an empath, as Ginger was talking about earlier, and you're standing in line at the grocery store or any other store, and the person in front of you or behind you or beside you has a lot going on with them, it starts moving through you. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've been in stores and suddenly had this panic attack. Terrible panic would come over me. And over the years, I've learned oftentimes it's coming off of someone else or many other people. But it doesn't make it better in the moment. In the moment, sometimes I still will get so panicked that I'll start having to catch my breath. I'll feel like I'm going to pass out. And so I have to maybe grab the side of something just to anchor myself and remind myself, okay, this isn't yours. Separate it. Something else is going on. And generally now I can do that. But it really does, for me, I'm an incredibly sociable person. In case you couldn't tell that yet by my personality. But there's still a lot of times when being around people will be too much for me, when I have to get away, especially if I'm doing an event or working with spirit at the time, and when people come rushing up to you to talk to you afterward, it's like sensory overload. And for some of you I know that are in the chat room have, I do know, and are friends of mine, Jorge. And if you've been at a channeling session of mine, you know that after the channeling session, I can't even speak to people. Generally, they'll usher me out into the other room, because people are curious afterward and they want to ask you all sorts of questions, and they come running up, and just someone speaking. When you come out of a trance that you've been in for 2 hours and spirit speaking through you, and suddenly just someone coming up and even saying something like, wow, that was great, thank you, or even touching you on the arm, it's very startling to the physical senses and all of it. A small, slight whisper sounds like a semi going by and the horns blaring. So it's really interesting to me, because that's one of the things that, when Craig was talking and he had asked me on his show before about that, about, do you ever get tired? And I thought, I don't really get tired, but as I think about it more, those are some of those challenges, that one does. Jorge's been to my channeling sessions, although I've gotten better at it, but it is very, very difficult. So those for me are the biggest challenges in terms of doing this work. And the more that I do this work, the more hours that I spend in a day doing it, I find the more I want to isolate at other times. And there's a part of me that says, that's not good to isolate yourself all the time. And so it's a challenge. It really is a challenge. And I'm wondering, in the chat room, I see different people talking about different things. If you're listening to us and you want to come over to the chat room, just click on live chat room, join us, give us your input on this. Are there ever times when you suddenly feel as though you're overwhelmed by things around you and you can't quite put your finger, because this doesn't just happen to those of us that work in this field. I believe that a large majority of people that suffer from anxiety and depression, I'm not talking about medical diagnoses, I'm not a physician, but I'm talking about those symptoms of it. I believe it's often because there's a part of us, our spirit, that's trying to push us in a different direction, and we're not listening. But as we're doing that, if we are doing that and we check that and we know it, I believe that so many of us aren't aware of how sensitive we are to others around us. And there's so much suffering in the world today. So much chaos, so much violence, so many people walking around lost. And we go out into these stores, into these public places, and we pick up on it. And we don't even necessarily have a panic attack. Maybe we just suddenly come home and we feel like, oh, really irritated. Someone speaks to us from home and we just want to snap at them. And I really believe it's because we're so aware and we're absorbing so much of that. But we don't talk about it because we're not taught to understand how connected we all really are. And Mark in the chat room is saying, yeah, that you get bad emotions sometimes for seemingly no reason. Absolutely. So again, look, I'm not saying people that everything is about everyone else, because it all starts with us. It all starts with us. But if we're doing the work that we need to do to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and make sure that we're living in alignment with our own personal code of ethics or in the direction that we know that we're meant to go in or being led toward, then those feelings of anxiety and all of that, we can kind of separate. And, you know, it's a lot easier. Actually, Kat just said the same thing. It's a lot easier if you know it's not yours to just say, okay, all right. So this isn't me, and I can separate myself from it. And that can be very, very helpful. I was watching a film this morning on Netflix, a documentary, while I was working the service, and it was a little bit slow this morning between 5 and 7. So I watched this amazing documentary called Wake Up. And I don't know if any of you have heard of that. In chat, if you've heard of it, let me know. But it's this really interesting documentary about a gentleman named Jonas Elrod. And this guy just woke up one day. Suddenly, he wasn't having seeing things beforehand. For a lot of us, as our mediumship develops or we get attuned to the other realms and the other worlds, we might have it happen gradually. For me, it happened pretty rapidly, but it still, there was a little bit of a gradual pace to it. This guy woke up and saw spirits, saw energy, saw auras, saw all sorts of things, and obviously it sent him into a tailspin. And so he actually did a documentary about it, and they followed him for 3 years. And I'll be honest, when I first started watching it, you know, he looked a little bit disheveled, but I realized later he was a hipster, so, you know. But I thought, well, let's see. I don't know. It could be some mental health things. So even as someone that does this, I'm still a skeptic at times. I like to really investigate and check things out. So if I'm a skeptic and I do this every day for a good majority of the day, then certainly those who aren't doing it, those of us who haven't been encouraged to do it, are also not going to be aware of how tuned in we are to it, even when we don't realize it. So Jonas went and actually had psych evals and all sorts of things. And they said, look, we can't, he had CAT scans and all of those other medical tests. They checked for brain tumors. They checked for schizophrenia, which is a whole other topic that I could go on forever about, and schizophrenia and walking in the midst of many different realms, which is also an intriguing subject. But So he goes through all of these testings. Everything's fine. He's living with his girlfriend, and they were both more or less kind of atheists at the time. They perhaps grew up with a religion, but they didn't follow one. They didn't really have a sense of a higher power or anything other than them. And so it was really fascinating to watch this documentary and watch him walk through this fear of it. And they went all over the world. I'd like to know where he got all the money for this, but that's another thing. They went all over the world and met with different people. There was a gentleman that he met with, I can't remember now, it may have been in Spain. Yes, it was in Spain. And they had this small room that, the way I see it, was like much like a spirit cabinet, meaning a very small space that's closed off, a place where ectoplasm is able to build up a little bit more in these smaller spaces because it can be contained. And so thank you, Mark, for putting the link in there. Actually, you can find it right on Netflix as well. So you go into this, what I call a spirit cabinet. And so they had this guy go in and sit and meditate for a while. And he started talking about the things that he was seeing around him and feeling around him. And they were using full spectrum cameras and things like that. I think for those of you who are paranormal investigators, you might want to really watch that part, because it looked like this guy has some programs or something. I mean, maybe they exist and I just don't know about it because I'm just the ditzy medium. I don't know about the technical stuff. But he had some pretty advanced computer programming that they used to, after they took the pictures, to really be able to isolate the anomalies and all of that, and pick up these different things that he said he was seeing, and different spirit faces that were formulating in the ectoplasm and all of that. It was really, really fascinating. And what was interesting about it to me was that at first he was just seeing it as, okay, well, here this is, and I have to deal with it. Over the 3 years that they made this documentary, and he went to so many different places. It was interesting because at first it was all about science, all scientific parts of it, trying to understand it and all of that. He went and met with a gentleman from Princeton. I had never heard of this either. There's a project called the Global Conscience Project. You guys in chat, has anyone heard of that? Really fascinating stuff. So they, apparently, I don't know how this works, because again, I'm not a scientist. I'm a medium. I'm too lazy for scientific stuff. But this project, apparently they set up these little, I don't know, technical things. They set up technical things, and they set them up, and apparently it measures or weighs the energy, and it spouts out numbers. I don't know, something like that. It's called, if you go to Noosphere, noosphere.princeton.edu, you're going to see all the scientific information about it. Apparently, they're like quantum event-based random number generators. I just cheated and read it on the website. So, it's actually conscience, Mark, is the way it is at Princeton. So anyway, these generators apparently run 24/7. And they're constantly spouting out numbers. And the normal numbers are zeros and ones. What they found is that at significant events, that the numbers would change. And that's so their belief, their theory on this is that there is a global conscience to everything. So that when there is large, massive feelings of something that's similar in the world, it affects the energy around us, and then it shows up in the numbers. Now, most of us already know that. We know that these things affect us. But think about, for the people that don't know this, how valuable this study is. They used things such as the funeral for Princess Diana. There were all different earthquakes, this, that, the other. And you can go on and they actually give you statistics and what numbers showed up. What I found really fascinating is this. Not only are they proving that there's this global consciousness that affects things, but that there is this global sense of picking up on things before they occur, of being empaths, because I believe it was 40 minutes before the first plane hit the Twin Towers, 40 minutes before, the things started going off and going, the numbers were like going crazy. And of course, they continued to do that once it was hit and it increased, but it started changing 40 minutes before. Isn't that fascinating? I think it's really fascinating. So, and I'm going to correct myself, and you are correct, Mark. It is on the website. The name of it is Global Consciousness Project. So I do apologize, and I thank you, Mark, and I bow to your rightness. I bow to your rightness. So I find this really very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. And it gives me pause to wonder, as I was talking about before, how many of us and how often are we picking up on these things? How often is it impacting us and how we walk through the world? Not even, they were talking earlier on the show about, watching the news, and there's a lot of us that, will say, well, I can't watch too much of that news because it's overwhelming, it's too much. And I've had many people say to me before, I'll put up things on my website, not my website, my Facebook, and people say, oh, I can't watch that video, it makes me too sad, it hurts too much. And I think to myself, for me, I need to watch them because I need to hurt. I need to feel sad because it's only in that feeling sad and in that hurting that I am going to do something to change me and hopefully to impact others around me. So when we're feeling these things, when we're picking up on these things, I think it's important to give pause to that, to begin to pay attention to it and say, what is happening here right now? And maybe the universe is calling to us and saying, hey, pay attention. Listen. Because when we try to just stuff it down, whether it's our own anxiety or someone else's, sometimes we then close the door on where it's leading us. And I know that that for me, I spent a really long time closing the door on all sorts of things. And I think that as a community, as a world, as a people, as one people, that maybe if we started paying attention to these massive amounts of anxiety, depression, volatile behavior, and we started saying, hey, what is this about? What are we being brought to that we wouldn't need to have so many hundreds of thousands of people medicated, probably millions. And I'm not, listen, let me be really clear. I'm not talking about, there are certainly people that need medication. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you who does and who doesn't. But what I can tell you, having worked in counseling for a very long time, is that I really believe with every part of me that the parts of us that are sensitive to something being wrong, that antenna, or is it antennae? I'm not sure how one would use antenna plurally. I'm also not a grammatical genius, so, but the antenna that we have on us, if we tuned it in the right way, we could hear each other better. We could hear what the world is asking of us. We could hear what peace is asking of us. We could hear what love is asking of us. And that's exactly where this documentary brought Jonas Elrod. Because once he got through all the scientific stuff, it still wasn't enough, because he still couldn't figure out, how am I going to live with this? How am I going to deal with this? Everywhere I go, seeing these things. So he started looking into some spiritual practices, and he visited some mystics and a Buddhist temple, and he went to, a matter of fact, there was a camp, I guess, that Jay-Z Knight has. Jay-Z Knight is the channel for Ramtha, and there's a camp there where they teach people how to really get in touch with the antennas that you have. And he went there, and it was really interesting to watch his process of it, because here he is seeing angels, demons, dead people, all sorts of things, aliens, although he wouldn't agree to the aliens, but there was one spotted. And so he's in this place, and he's thinking, oh, wow, these people are crazy. So I find it a little bit humorous that all of that was happening, and some people might look at him and think he was crazy, and yet when he was exposed to something that he didn't know, he thought others were crazy. So it was an interesting point for me, because it's good for me to look at that too, how I might judge those things and how I need to be more open. So he carried on in this way, and he finally went on a vision quest. And he spent 4 days out in the wilderness. And it seemed to me, watching that part of it, it was really interesting. You could see him begin to change as he started exploring these paths, but he was also very, very resistant to the spiritual aspect for quite a while. But when he got there, he had unfolded a little bit, opened up a little more. But when he got there and when he came out, it was like he was a completely different person. Because it wasn't, for me, what I saw in that was, it's not so much dealing with the spirits that's difficult, but dealing with ourselves. And for 4 days and 4 nights, he had to sit with himself in this small circle and not leave it. And he had to face his own angels and demons, not just the ones that he was seeing outside. And so it's really, really fascinating to watch, and I'm really glad that they made this documentary. I guess they're going to be showing it on, or perhaps they already have shown it on the Oprah network, Oprah Winfrey Network, OWN, something like that. And I guess this guy also has a new series now that he's starting on that, where he goes around and meets different people, and it's all about all these different ways that people are awakened to a different path in their lives, a different way of walking through the world, things happening to them that, just in a moment changes everything for them. Many of us, as we go through our lives, things change, but they seem to change over time, and it's not until we look back in hindsight that we see, oh, we've changed, or there's something different about me. But really, I think that we're always evolving, and some of us may do that with one big jump, one big leap, like what happened to Jonas. Well, but even that became more that he needed to do. And he did it at first just to say, what do you guys want from me? And boy, let me tell you, could I relate to that? Those of you that know me can attest to this as well. I can't tell you how many times. I'm a very ungrateful medium sometimes, I have to be honest. Because when you have spirit around you all of the time, there's times when one just doesn't really want to have conversations anymore, or see into the other worlds anymore. And there's, or even more so, sometimes going to that next level or that next place, pushing the envelope just a little more to the edge of crazy, as I call it. I can't tell you how many times I've yelled out to Spirit, what do you want with my life? And sometimes I hear something like, everything. And, but I think that for me, what's most important to keep in mind with all of this, it's not what Spirit wants from me. It's not what Spirit wants as an individual selfish entity from Jonas or from you or your brother or your father or mother. But if we are all connected and we are all part of that, then it is we that want it as well, isn't it? So it's not so much, well, oh, Spirit wants me to do this. No. Spirit doesn't dictate. That's why we have free will. That's what that free will is about. We can say no at any time. But when we cross a certain line in the road, sometimes turning back is a lot more difficult than staying on that other side of the line. Sometimes it's easier to stretch yourself more and more and to be crazy than it is to walk away from it, because there's only so much that you can block out after a while. The spirits still hound media. The spirits still hound everyone. So those are just my thoughts about that. I'd be interested in hearing any of your thoughts. Shortly, we are going to take some calls, but before we do that, we're going to take a short break. And if you want to ask me any questions about anything that I've talked about so far, or anything like that, before we do the open the phone lines, you can just send me a private message in the chat room. And we're just going to take a break in a moment. But until then, I'm going to keep talking. Or perhaps you can. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Medium at Large. I am your effervescent host, Medium Julie MacDonald, and I like to think of this as a spirited talk show. So I want to, for those of you just joining us, if you want to join us in the chat room, if you're not there already, just click on live chat, and I want to welcome all of you back and thank you guys for saying that is not hillbilly music, Mark. Everybody is talking in the chat room about my break music. That is not hillbilly. That is the blues, people. That is the blues. That is not hillbilly music. Nothing against the hillbillies or hillbilly music. I would just like to clarify, as a blues enthusiast, that you were listening to the blues. So, all right, guys, we are going to go ahead and we are going to open up the phone lines. If you want to call in and ask me a question, we are taking one question, and the phone number is 267-519-1707. That's area code 267-519-1707. And you can call that number and ask a question, or you can ask me a question in private messaging if you have a question. In the meantime, while we're waiting for questions, let's see. I do have someone that sent me something. So I'm just looking here. Just so you guys know, when you're in chat room, if it's okay. Someone did send me a private message. Please let me know if it is okay that I say your first name, because I'm going to say your first name so that you know that I'm talking to you. So if you've sent me a question in chat, please let me know if it's okay to say your first name. So I'm waiting on that. Okay, in the meantime, while we're waiting, really, nobody has questions? This is a psychic talk show. I can't even walk out of a room normally without everyone attacking me with questions. So, all right. So, Mark, hi Mark. Mark is asking me an open-ended question here. And I don't have to listen, guys. I'm not going to say what your question is. I'm just using your name so that we can, just let you know I'm talking to you. So Mark, I'm just gonna take a moment here, and we'll just see if we can call anyone up on the spirit phone. What I always tell everyone, just so you know, what I always tell everyone about this sort of thing when we're dealing with mediumship is I cannot ever and will not ever guarantee a connection with a particular spirit or anything like that. That's not up to me. All I can do is go and I knock on the door. I see who shows up. And that's what we do. And then I just start talking something about them, descriptions, how they pass. Who knows? I don't know. It just depends on what they tell me. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and give me just a moment. Mark, why are you thinking? You don't need to think, sweetheart. I'm not reading your mind, baby. I'm going out to the spirit world. Don't think. You're going to pull me over there. I'll start. God only knows, you might have a frightening reading then, my friend. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. So, all right. So, Mark, I want to talk to you about, actually, you have a little over in the corner here. There's a few different people in spirit that are standing there wanting to be acknowledged. And I'm going to ask them to separate themselves a little bit. So this is in chat. If you want to confirm or not, it's fine. It'll be a little bit different the way that I do this, because normally I will check in with people so that I make sure that they're following me in that. But since I can't hear your voice, I won't be doing that. But I do have, first of all, I want to talk about a gentleman who's in spirit, who's stepping forward. He looks to me to be as though he would have been older when he passed. I'm drawn to the energy around father or grandfather with him. It's something within that lineage, okay? He has that type of energy to him. I want to say that when he passed, he still had hair on his head. His hair seemed to be not a silver gray, but it's one of those sort of faded grays. I don't really know how to describe that, but his hair seemed as though it was still actually relatively full for someone who was older. I want to talk about the fact that he, as I'm staying with him, thank you, I'm feeling as though I'm feeling very drawn around the energy of his heart, very drawn around there. There's heart, lungs, stuff like that in there. There's congestion. What this could mean to me is that we're either looking at someone who had a problem with their lungs and they were congested, or they had issues with congestive heart failure. Doesn't always mean that's how they pass, but oftentimes it could also mean that it was something that they were dealing with, okay? I also want to say about this guy that he has a lot of smoke around him. Whether or not he was a smoker at one time or there was someone that lived around him that smoked, although I've said this before to people and then found out someone was in a fire, so... But I'm just getting smoke with him. Okay, hold on. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Can you just step back for a moment, please? Thank you. Because what I'm going to try to do, I'm trying to narrow these guys down for you, Mark. Mark, I just want to ask you, before I give you any information, are you able to identify this person? You don't have to say who it is. Are you able to identify this person that feels to me to be a member of your family, along something like a father or grandfather, along those lines? You can type in my box. Okay, we're just going to go forward because I do have some other questions here in chat. So hold on, let me just see what this. Okay, thank you very much, Mark. So what this person has to say to you is this. All right, hold on. I'm glad you said give it to you raw. But anyway, so you're not identifying this person. That's okay, because this person is still speaking to you. Thank you very much. I want to go over to Uncle-ish with this person. You're going to figure out who it is. Is it okay with you, Mark, if I still give you the information that he's trying to give to you? Also, I'm drawn. I have some pain in my back here with this person as well, but go ahead. You're not picking up on who it is. Okay. Is it okay if I still... No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. Could have been someone you knew. Kat. Kat was the other one that sent me a... How long ago did you send me the message, Kat? It could belong to Kat. Okay, let me just ask, please. Hold on. Okay, no, Kat, I'm sorry. This is not for you. This is definitely for Mark. So again, Mark, I want to encourage you down the road. We don't have to stay stuck on this point. You are going to figure out who it is, all right? If it's not a father, grandfather, uncle, it's someone that was like that to you. But this is what he's saying, okay? He's talking to me about a need for you to unstick yourself in a particular place in your life. I'm feeling as though there's a certain, thank you, there's a certain place in which you're trying to move ahead, yet you're holding yourself back from it a little bit. And what he's saying, he's kind of taking his leg and he's kicking at you as though he's saying, it's time for you to take that next step. You need to take that next step on this and not allow... it's not, I don't want to say it's a lot of fear, but it kind of is. It's about letting go of the past, Mark. Yes, thank you. You need to let go of the past in order to move forward in this, because this is going to open something up for you that you're not even anticipating. And as we go down the road about 3 months from now, there's a particular thing that you've been hoping for to happen, and that's where it's leading you to. You know, I don't want to put out your personal information. So I'm gonna leave that with you, and I'm gonna we have a call coming in, and area code 718. How are you?
Hi, how are you, Julie? This is Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. How can I help you?
Well, I don't know. Do you see anybody around me? Is there anybody, have a message for me or anything?
Well, I'm sure there's lots of people around you and lots of people that have messages for you. So, and I can just go in there and look. But if you want to ask me about is there someone in particular that you're looking for? That's a lot faster if you want to do it that way. Otherwise, I'm happy to jump in and see who shows up.
Either my father or my brother.
Your father or brother? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't
All right.
matter.
Okay. Can I have father and brother's first name, please?
Guy is my father. Robert is my brother.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, Guy and Robert, are you out there somewhere, please? Can you come forward? Okay. All right, gentlemen, walking down. This gentleman appears to me, does not feel like a father to me, feels more like a brother to me, but we're going to see, because sometimes you never know. Friends can show up too looking like this. This person's walking down a hill, and thank you. And I feel as though, hold on 1 minute. Okay, thank you. He's talking to me about when he passed, and he's talking to me about it. It wasn't even though he's telling me that he was a little bit questionable. In other words, there were certain things certainly that someone could look at him and say, okay, well, because he lives this way or that way, then one can understand why this might happen. But I feel as though it was still kind of a little bit of a surprise when he passed. And I've got two people standing together now, so I don't know for which one of those people, which one of those two passed without you being like prepared for it.
My brother.
Okay, that's what. Okay, all right. So I'm just gonna because I have to ask Dad to step to the side because we don't have a lot of time, sweetheart. Sorry. So I'm just trying to go through this very quickly. Okay, he's talking to me about. Thank you. He's talking to me about visits that he's made to you. Do you understand this?
Oh yeah.
Okay. He's telling me, he's showing me as he's walking through your home. He's also talking to me about something, thank you, something that you've changed in your home that he really likes. I want to say that you've changed this in the past year. I don't know if you redecorated, you moved something around, something like that. Are you following me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He likes those changes, he says. Very good. So, although there's something he's showing me, he's actually, I feel like he's kind of joking with you a little bit about this, Kathy, because he's saying, although perhaps if I had been there, I might have tweaked this a little bit differently. Do you understand? I feel like he was someone who actually would have done that sort of thing. Was he someone that did, like, where he did that sort of thing, like fixing things, like he was handy with his hands? Do you understand this?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. He's also saying that he wants to get some of the credit for some of your ideas about the things that you changed. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, thank you very much. He's also saying, I want to say one other thing to you from him. He's talking to me about you being concerned. Listen, I'm not a doctor, sweetheart, okay? If you have health problems, you need to go to a doctor, get it checked out. However, he is talking to me about some concerns that you have about your health. Do you understand this?
Okay.
Okay.
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay, somewhat. Okay. Listen, what he's talking to me about is two things. He's saying, one, there's something about dietary stuff that you need to change. Do you understand?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's going to help with it. And also, I'm filling up in my lungs with you as well. Are you a smoker, sweetheart?
Yes, I am.
Oh, all right, because he's like pointing, and I'm feeling like like all of a sudden my lungs are filling up. I'm one too, sweetheart. So I know that sensation. But look, he's not trying to tell you what. Well, okay, he is trying to tell you what to do. He's saying, listen, it's hard. He understands that it's hard, but he's just saying, just pay more attention. If there's ways that you can change things a little bit, I feel like you're going to feel a lot more energized, because that's the biggest thing right now. I feel like your energy, you feel like it's been draining a lot. You don't feel rested, and you can't seem to keep up with things. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So these are the ways you're going to do that. I'm seeing a lot of greens. He's also talking to me about juice, but if you can juice it, it's better than the concentrate sugar stuff. But this is the stuff that he's saying is going to help you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Good luck to you. Many blessings from Spirit. Thanks so much for calling.
Thank you so much, Julie.
You're welcome, darling.
Bye.
Okay, and area code 518, you are up next. Hey, we're in the 518. Come on home.
How you doing, Julie?
I'm good. How are you?
I would like to know who you can see anybody in my who passed away or who's looking over me.
Okay, all y'all have open-ended questions on a rushed night. All right, sweetheart, what's your first name?
Tim.
Tim. I thought it was you, but I didn't want to guess here. I know Tim, just so you guys know, but I don't know his dead people. All right, Tim, give me just a moment here. Is there anyone in particular you just want me to look and see? You have a female around you, number one, I want to say. And I feel as though this female that passed who's around you, it doesn't feel like mom. You know what it feels like to me? As though someone who would be around your age. So we're looking at, if it's not a sister that is a blood sister, then it's someone that you would have known who was a friend. I feel that she passed from an illness, and I feel like it was something that went through her body. So to me, that often, it could mean cancer, but it doesn't mean that it is. And I want to go, as I look at her, I want to go back that this has happened sometime within the past 5 to 7 years. Are you able to identify? You don't have to say who they are. Are you able to identify them?
No, you said it's a female?
Yes, female. It's all right. Think about it. We'll see who else is out there for you, honey, so you can identify someone, all right? It'll come to you later. Trust me. Okay, so here we go. Who are you? Come on, step forward, buddy. Thank you very much. Oh, this person is a clown. Okay. Not an actual literal clown, Tim, but a clown. um, I feel as though this person was very, very, like, I feel as though he's very, very active, very hyper, very full of life, full of energy. I want to say that this is somewhere in your family. It may not be necessarily, though, like direct family. It could be a cousin, something like that. I feel like this person passed also, this person passed rather unexpectedly. Hold on, let me just see where we're going with this, please. Okay, there was a lot of, thank you very much. He's telling me that there was a lot of grief and unresolved stuff around his passing. Are you following me so far? A lot of questions that went unanswered. Do you understand this?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, hold on one moment, please. What are you saying, sweetheart? He's like so hyper, he's making me actually jump up and down in my chair. There's someone, okay, thank you. Tim, do you have access to someone that he would have been in a close relationship with? Because I feel mostly like he's trying to communicate something to them.
Possibly. Does he know anything about me?
Does he know anything about you? He knows you.
I mean, can you say something about what I should be doing, or
Yeah.
what,
But can
what
I
am
just...
I doing wrong? Or
Yes, I can tell you that. But do me a favor, please, because he won't let this die, okay? No pun intended with the die. There's a person that's very close, that was very close to him, and he wants you to let him, that person know that the dreams that they're having at night with him being there, that he's actually there and he's communicating. They need to listen to that, okay? All right, thank you very much. Now, going on. You're like, no, I want to know about me, darn it. Hold on, baby. We're getting there. We're getting there. Hold on. Okay, thank you. All right. Yes. There's a change, Tim. There's a change that's coming for you, actually. And I want to say, like, I feel like this does have to do with the area of the work that you do. And I want to say, quite frankly, that I feel as though you're... All right, I do know this about some things about you, so let me be honest. I know, like, with True Talk and that, you're overloaded.
Right.
But I also feel like he's talking to me about you just being overloaded and overwhelmed altogether. Do you understand this?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
Yeah, okay.
And there's something that you don't know about, but
Okay.
I can tell you later. But
Okay, all right. So there's a change coming for you around this area, all right? There's a change coming. Hold on a minute. Let me just see what this is. Thank you. What he's saying is, look. Well, actually, he's saying, look, bro. Look, brah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about this. I feel as though things are lining up for you, Tim, that's actually going to land you in a much better place than you're in right now. And what we're looking at with that, there's 2 doors that are opening, and I want to say that this is going to be happening, one within the next 2 months, the other one a few months down the road. What this is going to do is we're looking at money, increase in money,
right.
and much more stability job-wise. Do you understand this?
Yes.
Okay. So
I feel it.
you feel it? Okay. All right,
Yep.
good. So there it is for you, buddy. Thank you very much for calling, and I'll see you the next time around, honey. I did not take you to church tonight, though I thought about it.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome, sweetheart. Have a good one. Okay. And we have... I'm going to go over to chat after I take a drink. And Mark says he understands a little more about his. Very good. Again, you know, a lot of times, guys, let me take a moment to explain this. And then I'm going to do one more message because we're getting low on time. Oftentimes, I have a friend that calls this psychic amnesia. And a lot of times when we're with a psychic or if we're in a circle or with a medium or anything, we have one idea in our head about what it is that we want to hear or who it is that we want to connect with. And a lot of times we don't, so we're focused there. And there may be people that have been in our lives that maybe they're not people we think about every day. Okay? But they're still connected to us. And their connection to us may be greater than what we even knew. So sometimes they'll show up. But we're so busy trying to fit them into the person that we want it to be, or that sometimes later on we'll be like, oh, and I've done it myself. I've been like, oh my God, I can't believe that I missed that. And I'm not saying, you know what? There are times when a psychic medium, including myself, are wrong. There are times when we are wrong. All I'm saying is just kind of don't throw it out yet. You know, just let it move through you, because sometimes things will make a lot more sense. Okay, I have time for one more, and I have Okay. Kat. Okay, Kat, I have you in chat here asking a question. And so give me just one moment, please. And we are looking for Gom. We are looking for your Gom. Give me just one moment, Gom. I'm here with Kat, and she'd like to know if you want to communicate something to her. Okay, so let me talk to you about the woman I'm seeing. Don't know if it's her or not. You're gonna let me know that, sweetheart. So what I'm seeing as I'm tuning in here is I'm seeing. Oh my God, she's so adorable. I just wanna like pick her up, because it appears to me as though she's tiny. She looks to me. I don't know that she was always tiny. I gotta make this quick too. I got 5 minutes. But she feels just so adorable to me. She looks like she's not very tall, Kat. So I'm going to go, well, when I consider not very tall is 5'6" and under, it appears to me like she used to like to wear what I used to call house dresses. You know, my grandmother used to wear those house dresses all the time. And she used to always wear, okay, thank you. She had glasses. It wasn't all of the time that she wore them, she's saying. I almost said always, but she's saying no, not all of the time. I feel as though she was someone who was quite spunky for her size. And okay, I want to, Kat, are you able to, is this your grandmother, honey, or is this someone else we have here? Because I want to get you your message before we run out of time. Is she still there? Kat, hello? All right, we're just going to go forward with the message then, sweetheart, and you can listen to it in on demand. So, okay, thank you very much. Oh, honestly, sweetheart, here's my feeling. She's saying, I don't know why she wants a message from me. I'm around her all the time, and she knows I'm around her all the time, although she is saying that you've been a little bit lazy about connecting with her. I wish I could check in with you on this, but you're not there in the chat room. Let me just see. Okay. Okay, you wouldn't have said tiny. Well, she looks tiny to me. Anyway, so do you understand what she's saying, honey, about that you haven't really been going out of your way lately to connect with her? Do you understand this? Because she's telling me she's around you a lot, and you've talked to her a lot in the past, but not quite as much lately. Do you understand? Oh, okay, never mind. Don't answer that, sweetheart. Let me just go forward with what she's saying. It's not just her, okay? She's talking to me about a need for you to return to a more, a deeper practice like you've had in the past. Whatever your spiritual path is, whatever your spiritual practice is, it's time for you to move back into that, because I feel as though you're coming up on some very interesting changes, and you're going to need this stockpile. This isn't bad things. It's just new things. And also, I just feel like Spirit's calling you forward further and further. Do you understand this? I wish I could give you more, sweetheart, but I know Karen's like, hey, it's time to start wrapping this up because we have 2 minutes. Do you understand this, Kat? All right. Well, hopefully you understand it, my dear. I just feel as though it's a matter of import for you to do this, whether you meditate, whatever you do to connect with Spirit, sweetheart, get out in nature more, whatever it is, do it on a deeper level. It's time to open up more and allow it to move through. You didn't know she was aware of anything you're into. Are you kidding me? She can see you, honey. She can see you. Okay, so that wraps up the messages. We are winding down. So as we begin to wind down on our time here, I do want to thank all of you that were here with me tonight. I want to thank those of you who participated in chat, to the listeners out there. I want to thank All One Broadcast for allowing Medium at Large to be here on the program. And I also want to thank, who else? Everyone. Karen, I want to thank you as my producer for producing. I want to thank Craig Eugene, Kathy, and Karen for all the hard work that they do at A1B to keep things going. Most importantly, I want to thank the listeners and the community. Check these things out that we talked about tonight. I'm not sure how much time we have left. I'm waiting for my producer to tell me, so that I'm just talking you out, babies. We're going to talk you on out tonight. So, listen, we have a lot of great shows here at A1B, so make sure you tune into them. We also have a brand new show as well, I believe, that's on Monday nights. So make sure that you tune in for that. Karen, are we still on the air? Am I still talking, guys? Can you still hear me, guys? I don't even know. I could sing you a little ditty or something like that.